Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Wanted to do a little bit of a preview here of a potentially significant severe weather day that looks like it could be setting up for us this coming Sunday. So that would be March 24th. Today is Thursday evening, March 21st. So we're still a little bit far out to know specifics, but we're just in range of the North American model. So that tends to start to give us enough data to get a good idea of what the threat level might look like, as well as how the storms may behave and exactly what we might be looking at. So again, this would be for a couple days from now, around Sunday afternoon and evening. Again, that would be March 24th. So want to jump in here. I'll probably do another video this weekend once we get a little bit closer to the event, but at least this will give us a preview of what the threats will look like. That way everyone can be prepared and kind of know ahead of time here. We've still got several days of lead time. So right here, what we're looking at, this is our upper level wind map. So this is about 500 millibars. That is way above the surface, really around where the jet stream is. And this tends to be our big triggering event when we get more widespread, significant severe weather. So if I slow this down and I look at this right here, this would be kind of Sunday morning. And so what you can notice here is anywhere that you see these colors here, these reds, yellows right here, that's our fastest wind speeds. And so we have this big trough that's digging down across the kind of northern Mexico, Baja area, Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico. And it's digging down and it's ejecting to the east over New Mexico and the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. This is going to be our main triggering event for our severe weather on Sunday, as well as it could go into Monday as well. And as we move forward in time here and we get to Sunday, right here around Sunday evening, what you can see is that the nose of the strongest winds, kind of right here, it's a little bit hard to kind of see with the yellow here. I could change the color for us. Let's go to maybe a purplish color. So kind of this nose right here of this reddish area here, that fastest flow, it noses into kind of western and central Oklahoma, almost into Kansas. And this is kind of right around just after that peak heating of the day. And again, this is our main forcing for the event. These are upper level winds. Now, a couple other things that we always look at when we look at the potential for severe weather is what are those lower level wind fields? Not quite ground level, but we would call this our low level jet. So our 850 millibar winds here are showing that we would have a low pressure system here across eastern Colorado, kind of northwest Kansas, southwest Nebraska, and then it's pulling up all of this wind here from the south. So this is bringing up moisture and it's kind of wrapping around that low pressure system that's setting up right here. So what we can see is that these orange, these yellows, and these reds here, these are our strongest low-level jet. And so again, kind of northern Oklahoma, central Kansas seems to be the target there. And that's pretty similar to those upper-level winds that nose in kind of right here. So that's why we kind of have this target right about here, northern Oklahoma, kind of southern central Kansas, based on where those overlapping winds will be. Now, another thing that we do want to look at is certainly moisture. This is our one limiting impact for our event on Sunday is because we have a couple fronts, not only last week, a little bit of weather coming through today here on Thursday, we've got a relatively dry atmosphere. If we go back to kind of where we are kind of right now, today we do have moisture in place across Texas and Oklahoma, but watch what happens as we move forward in time and we go through kind of our Friday into early Saturday. We've got dew points here in the 30s, basically low 30s in Kansas and Oklahoma. Really, 50s in Texas, but all the good moisture, 60 degrees and above, is well off the coast. So it does get pulled forward as that low pressure system up here in Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska forms. It does pull this moisture kind of northward here in the southern plains, but it's a little bit late to be doing that. And so what that's going to leave us with is by the time we get to our Sunday evening, when that main event, that upper level forcing is going to be taking place, we do have moisture that makes it up here, but we're looking, at least on this model, low 50s in Kansas, maybe mid 50s, but still kind of projecting low 50s across much of Oklahoma. A little bit better moisture nosing into the Dallas Fort Worth area, but again, the 60s really don't even make it much inland on the Texas coast. If we were looking at an event that had better moisture, maybe that front didn't kind of clear things out on Friday, Saturday, or maybe we were a little bit later in the year, I think we'd be looking at a pretty significant, very possibly a tornado outbreak. So it's not to say that we won't have severe weather or we couldn't have some tornadoes on our Sunday, but I think the moisture will be a little bit of a limiting factor for this being a much bigger and more significant event. But again, don't let your guard down just because it won't be quite the level of moisture that we normally see. One thing that we like to look at here, theta E can be something that you can look at. It's really a crossover between temperature as well as moisture. So a little bit of kind of a composite number here. And you can see kind of right where this line is between our yellow and orange, kind of nosing up here. That is our best moisture. And so what you can see is that this kind of comes up, it comes across central western Oklahoma, up into kind of central southwest Kansas here. And this is going to be likely our trigger for where we see storms, kind of along this dry line here, along these little bit of warmer temperatures, a little bit better moisture right in this little tongue of a little bit better instability. And we can see that when we do look at our instability parameters here. If we look at our 3 kilometer EHI, this is really a crossover parameter between not only wind shear, but also that instability or kind of storm juice. So what environment is most conducive for severe weather? And what we can see is that here, really across northern Oklahoma, southern and central Kansas, this is where our bullseye are. And so I took a forecast sounding for right here along the Oklahoma-Kansas border to give us an idea of the environment. And here's what I found. This is a pretty textbook photograph for significant severe weather and tornadoes. You see this looping, let me change maybe to a yellow again. You see this big looping photograph just like this, that kind of sickle shape. That is significant when it comes to a tornado threat. And so when you look at this alone, this screams very possibly a significant tornado threat for our Sunday. Again, this would be along that Oklahoma-Kansas border. Now we can see here our wind barbs. We do see out of the south here at the surface, kind of still south above, starting to turn southwest a little bit more west-southwest here. So we've got that turning direction with height. That's important for organized severe weather and storms. Now, what our temperature and dew point profile here, you can see that this is showing a dew point projected at 52 and a 66-degree temperature. Now, what's important here, this model tends to underdo our temperatures, so I wouldn't be surprised to get to around 70 very possibly. That would leave us about an 18-degree difference between our dew point and our temperature. That's within the window for a tornado threat. It's a little bit starts to get on the marginal area, but it's within that window. So this would line up. We don't really have any issues with a cap, I think, because of that significant upper level system that's coming through. We do have a little bit of instability here, kind of this area between the red and blue lines. So we do have some instability, surface-based CAPE, almost 900 joules per kilogram. We have plenty of low-level wind shear, almost 480 meters squared per second squared. That's significant low-level shear, and again, that's why we see this big sickle-shaped photograph that we have here. So overall, a pretty good environment that the NAM is kind of predicting for our Sunday evening. Again, the one limiting factor is probably this moisture. If this is where we end up, it's marginal, but it might be enough. And that large weather system coming through, that big upper level forcing significant wind shear, that might be enough to overcome that limiting factor. So that's why we don't want to let our guard down. But it does look like anywhere from maybe northwest Texas, parts of kind of western to northwestern Oklahoma, and then much of central Kansas does look like we could see some significant severe weather for our Sunday. Again, that would be March 24th. So we'll refine this forecast as we get a little bit closer. I'll probably plan to do an update video sometime on Saturday as well. That way we'll have more details. We can look at some of the convective allowing models and where storms are projected to be, as well as any differences. Is moisture going to be a little bit better? Is our system, is it timing, is that correct on when it arrives kind of on Sunday evening? So we'll have a lot more details here in the coming hours and couple days, but just wanted to give you a little bit preview. It does look like it'll be a chase day on Sunday, so definitely watching this very, very closely. So hope everybody has a good rest of your Thursday and good Friday and end of the work week, and I'll see you back here for the next video.